Welcome to the Lakewood Ranch Kiwanis Club and the Women's Leadership Luncheon. We are so glad that each and every one of you are here, and thank you for everything that you do for the community. The ringing of the bell symbolizes and reminds each Kiwanian of the purposes that we have in Kiwanis to make a difference in the lives of children and change the lives of children one child and one community at a time. Some of you have never heard of Kiwanis, I'm sure. Some of you are wondering what in the world Kiwanis is. We are a global service organization dedicated to serving children. In fact, the Kiwanis mission is to make a difference in the lives of children, as I said earlier, one child and one community at a time. To that end, Kiwanis adopts several projects within our community, such as mentoring students, reading to school children, supporting Take Stock in Children, supporting Project Heart for the homeless. We even have a program at the Manatee Sunrise Club. They package and distribute meals throughout the world for kids that are in disadvantaged countries. And that was started. It's now an international project for Kiwanis, and it was actually started right here in Manatee County, and many of our clubs work with that. We sponsor kids fishing tournaments, little leagues, and recently, kind of out of the box, we sponsored a regional high school wrestling tournament where our members and our Key Club members kept score and kept time for the tournament. And it was actually a lot of fun, and they didn't throw us out and invited us next year, so that's good. All Kiwanis clubs support youth groups or youth clubs in schools. We have Key Club in high school, we have Builders Clubs in middle school, and K Kids in elementary school. The purpose is to target the kids or to get the kids to realize that they need to provide service to their community and realize the needs of their community. They learn to give back and make a difference at a young age. Each school must have a faculty advisor who coordinates meeting space, chaperones, and dedicates time for these students at the Key Club. And Lakewood Ranch sponsors two Key Clubs, Braden River High School and Lakewood Ranch High School. At Braden River High School, we have Jenny McNally, who could not be here today, but last year, she was actually the Advisor of the Year for the state of Florida. So we're very proud about that. We also have with us today in attendance Rebecca Osterman, if you'll stand, Rebecca. And Rebecca is a teacher. Thank you. She's a teacher at Lakewood Ranch High School, and one of my daughter's actually favorite teachers, which was nice to know. And she's a new faculty advisor at Lakewood Ranch. So we're glad to have her on board. Brianna Rupin is here as president of the Lakewood Ranch Key Club. Brianna, if you'd stand, I don't know where she got off. She's real short, so. And we also have Terry Shreve, who is the secretary of the Braden River High School Key Club. And if she'd stand, there she is over there. And just so you realize, just these two Key Clubs have over 300 students that are involved in these programs, and they really have an impact in the community, and they are doing events 3 and 4 times a week, so it's really incredible to see what they do. Our Key Clubs are a mirror image of the adult organization. Within the Key Club, there are club members and officers, regional officers, and international board officers. Today, we have Jackie Aranabar. Is Jackie here? I didn't see Jackie. Oh, she's finishing up her SATs. At any rate, I guess that's important. Jackie, who is currently the Lieutenant Governor for Manatee County, it will be retiring next week at the district convention, which is in Orlando, and she is actually seeking the office of International Club Vice President. So she's looking to be an international officer, so we're really proud to have her as part of our club. I love Kiwanis. I'm passionate about what we do. I think we reach the community. We have a great time while we're doing it. But when Kiwanis was founded, which is hard to believe that we would talk about this at a women's luncheon, but Kiwanis only had men that joined. And we now allow women. And I don't know what the founders were thinking of, frankly. Today, men and women are part of Kiwanis. Worldwide, women account for about 25% of the membership and probably a much larger portion of the service because women are workers. Manatee County has 8 clubs. Members join a club that fits their personality, their schedule, or maybe a co-worker or a friend invited them to join the club. I would like to have the members of the different clubs, as I call them out, in Manatee County. We have 8. If there is a member of the club, if they'd stand, and all of them remain standing until we're finished with all 8. Anna Maria Island Club, we got 2 members. Bradenton, the Downtown Club, all right, a whole bunch of, there we go. Cortez, Lakewood Ranch. Better be a whole bunch of those. Manatee Sunrise Club in Palmetto. All right. North Manatee in Ellington. Oneiko and West Bradenton. Thank you very much. I want to thank each of you for your service to the Kiwanis Club, your Kiwanis Club, the projects that you do, and of course the service that you provide for the kids in our community. Information is available in your programs about each Kiwanis Club. Of course, we're partial to Lakewood Ranch, but you can look, if that's not close, you can certainly look at the others. Think about joining this awesome organization dedicated to the service of the children of our community. An event like this would not be possible without a lot of work, and 2 people that really spearheaded this event were Jane Grace and Julia Ranabar. And most of you, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, know her and or know them, and especially Julie's laugh. And they approached us about 2.5 weeks ago, which is incredible, about doing this event, and suggested a small, quaint luncheon. Obviously, it's not a small, quaint luncheon, but hopefully it'll be great to honor the women of our community. I agreed, not realizing the impact this would make. It's an awesome event. What do you say about Julia Ranabar? She is past president of our Kiwanis Club and continues to be an active member for over 10 years in our club, even serving as a school board member and the responsibilities that office attained. She was even active during her campaign, which is really incredible because of the amount of time that takes. I've never met a person more energetic, passionate, or dedicated to the community or to our children. We're proud to have her as a member, and I'm grateful she's a school board member. Jane Grace is a fairly new member of our club and has become one of my favorite persons, I can tell you. Anytime anyone that knows Jane realizes what a hard worker she is, and she jumps right in. If you ever run for office, she's a woman you want on your team, that's for sure. Her efforts in Kiwanis are no different. She jumped right in to the projects of the club and is even serving as our club advisor at the Lakewood Ranch Key Club. What an awesome person, and we're glad to have Jane as a member. We're lucky to have both of you as club members, and if you'll come up now and do your part of the program, I'll sit down.
Idea for this luncheon mushroomed after a call went out to Senator Nancy Dietert, who said, "What a great idea, and it's long overdue." Well, it continued on and it just really mushroomed, and the following women joined in and added their voices and names. They stepped up to the plate, and it really was a good example of what this whole thing is about because it showed the power of women. So when I call your name, would you remain standing, and we'll applaud them at the very end. Vanessa Bao, Vanessa's Fine Jewelry. Karen Carpenter, who is Vice Chair of the Manatee County School Board. Palmetto Mayor Shirley Groover Bryant. Dr. Mary Cantrell, Manatee County Technical Institute. Jackie Dzelski, Manatee County Chamber of Commerce. Robin DiSabatino, Manatee County Commission. Lakeland Senator Paula Dockery. Sandy Haas Martin, Commissioner of Holmes Beach. Jamie Clobber, Polo Grill proprietor. Mary Ruiz, Manatee Glens president and CEO. Michael Sanders and Company, and Cynthia Truwell, who's president of the American Business Women's Association and an administrator in the Sheriff's Office. Leslie Wells Realty, and of course, who always gets last, poor Carol, with the name of Whitmore, County Commissioner Carol Whitmore. We thank you. Another group I'd like to acknowledge are the elected officials. As my uncle used to say when I'd do things for him, he'd always say, "Oh, Jane, you're just going over the yellow line." They don't have to be here today. This isn't listed in their work schedule, and yet here they are on a beautiful Saturday afternoon showing their commitment and support when they could be at home cleaning off those love bugs in the front of their car. We appreciate their time because, you know, at the end of their day, I'm sure they'd like to put their feet up and relax, and many times it just doesn't work that way. So again, please remain standing and we'll applaud them at the end. School Board Vice Chairman Karen Carpenter, County Commissioner John Chappie, Senator Nancy Dietert, Senator Paula Dockery, School Board Member Barbara Harvey, County Commissioner Larry Bussell, Senator Pat Neal, County Commissioner Joe McClash, Mayor Shirley Groover Bryant, County Commissioner Robin DiSabatino, Sheriff Brad Stubbe, School Board Member Julia Ranabar, County Commissioner Carol Whitmore, and Sandy Haas Martin, City of Holmes Beach. We thank you again. And finally, no event runs on its own. The necessary financial support of dedicated sponsors, well, you just can't get away from them. You've all been in different clubs and organizations and groups, and you know how important it is when somebody steps up to the plate and says, yes, we'll sponsor or we'll help you. They helped us shoulder a portion of this event, and we are really proud and pleased to announce them. So if you would remain standing, and we'll give you applause at the end. Again, we have Karen Carpenter, who's school board chaired and a Kiwanian. District 68 Rep Jim Boyd, who is a Kiwanian. Julia Ranabar, who is a Kiwanian. Candidate Ed Bailey, who tells me he's not, but he might be. Candidate Vanessa Bao, she's a Kiwanian. The Kiwanis group of Lakewood Ranch, where is that table? Where are they? Right down here. Candidate Robert Moats is a Kiwanian. Black and Pearls, friends, please rise and be recognized because they were very helpful. Sharon Kramer, Director of Manatee Substance Abuse, Coalition, and there is a Manatee County Youth Commission with them. Candidate Linda Scheich and Leslie Wells Realty. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Julie Aranabar, who really exemplifies the topic for today. Women in leadership, women in power. As one president said to the incoming president, let me give you a word of advice. If Julie suggested it and she's going to run it, just get out of her way.
Thank you all. It was an honor to stand at the door and to watch all of the faces come in. This event, this day, to have it be possible at $30 for each person did take our sponsors, the same people that we go to over and over again. This is a very important day. There's something that every table, what we share and what we know. And what I have learned is when I was 10 years old, I had a disease and was in a hospital, and a teacher came and tutored me. That teacher became my mentor. That teacher changed my life. I knew when I took my children to kindergarten, and I had, one child that had trouble reading, I saw firsthand what the professionals do in our schools. They inspired me. So all of you have inspired me to do what I do, and all of us have been mentors at one time or another, or have been mentored at one time or another. And this time in our country, it has never been so important to take a leadership position, not for a title and not to be somebody, but to do something. And if there was ever a time in our community that something had to be done, it's now. So thank you all, because this day actually started with one email, and we had the first 14 women come forward unequivocally within 30 minutes. Some of you started answering. So we knew we had 100 people, so we had, about 10 tables set up. If you look around this room and see what happened, that happened once we hit Facebook, and we never printed a single invitation. So we saved a lot of money on postage. I want to thank all of you, because this all happened by word of mouth. And to see the leadership of our community come together, Kiwanis is about one child at a time. And I live that every day, and I want to say thank you to my student that I met when she was in middle school. Deborah, would you please stand up? Deborah and I met when she was in about 6th grade, and we've been together ever since, and I will actually be on the stage as she comes across to get her diploma next month. So, and I'm about to send her off to college. And then Deborah has already had to get involved in Kiwanis, because one day at one of our meetings I said, your time to start giving back is right now. I cannot impact as many young Black women as this young woman can, because when she stands up and says this is the way, people will follow her. It took me about a year to get through her wall, and we don't always have a year to get through that wall. So she now knows that it's passed on to her. So then my little phone call with Nancy, and my relationship with Nancy started out as someone that mentors me in things about school board issues. She served 2 terms on the school board. When I first met her, that I got to talk to her, it was when she was running against 6 different men, and she stood up and said, "My name is Nancy Dietert, and my feet hurt." I had never run for office, but now that I have, I can tell you, you leave your house by 7 in the morning and you don't get home until midnight, and yes, your feet do hurt. And so I called her and I said, Nancy, when the legislature convenes, we're going to be losing you as our representative because her district has been changed. And she said, I know. And she said, Manatee, she's always fought so hard for us and been such a vital part of our contingency in the legislature. And I said, we want an opportunity to thank you. So I do want to tell you, for all of those that are wondering if she's not running, she's just redistricted, but she's absolutely running for office, and we will be right there behind you. If there's any doubt, Nancy, we're right there. So I would like to call Nancy up to share with you some of her experiences. And as always, your takeaway from today has been what every one of you brought to this room, and I just can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Generally, I just talk from personal experience, and usually I give legislative updates. Frankly, I've been around for 20 years in politics, and not a lot of people really know much about my personal life, to tell you the truth, and I've always kind of enjoyed keeping it that way. So you confuse me in speaking about leadership, which insinuates that I think I'm a leader, which I never thought I was. And just to confuse matters further, this week I'm getting a bunch of stuff from my high school reunion in Chicago, and they sent me something, high school reunion, no, I'm not going, because it's in Chicago and I don't have time to go. So that was usually the end of it, but thanks to the miracle of technology, they've all discovered me on Facebook. I've been flying under the radar, just doing my little job, minding my own business. And so we're back to this leadership thing. I'm hearing from the kids that I went to high school with that I thought were the leaders, the smart kids. Carol Golab. Does that sound like a smart kid? Yes. But so it's kind of throwing me off. Those kids may have been the smartest kids in the class. They're highly organized. They're doing a great job on the reunion. They pester me daily. They send me little emails like, because they're smart kids. Nancy, I see you're a senator in Florida. I checked your voting record and the bills you filed. I'm very proud of you. I think you're doing a good job. And I'm like, oh my God, Carol Golab is now watching my career, as if I didn't have enough stress. I don't want Carol Golab watching my career from, Austin, Texas, or wherever the heck she lives. So growing up, did I think I was a leader? No, but Sister Mary Helen Rita told me that I was the ringleader, and optimist that I am, I'm like, wow, Sister Mary Helen Rita thinks I'm a leader. And in fact, here's another goofy thing about the smart kids. One of them said something nice, and we're so proud of you that you're a senator, and I emailed back and said, yeah, and they said I'd never get out of high school. And she went, who said that? And I thought, yeah, I forgot. None of you have a sense of humor either. So what makes a leader? I think leaders come from all walks of life, and we can prove it by the leaders in the room, which is another intimidating quality, because I'm supposed to speak about leadership to people who are leaders in their field. And I recognize your leadership, and we all had different paths to leadership. So what was my path? I particularly like to talk to young people, and I'm glad we have some young men and women in the audience. Hi, I'm your role model. And what I like to tell them the most is, growing up in Chicago, in the suburbs, in my little spot of the world, wondering what I was going to be when I grew up, the last thing that would have ever occurred to me is, I'm going to be a senator in a state I've never even visited. It's bizarre. And you know who lived a mile from me? Hillary Clinton. And we're similar in age. And I'm picturing me sitting on my front porch, Hillary riding her bike around the neighborhood. Who knew? So your path to leadership should really be, have confidence in yourself. I think what makes leaders a leader is mainly they're passionate about something. I know I ran for school board not thinking I should have a career in politics. I wasn't looking for a career in politics. I had moved to Florida from Indiana with 3 sons, and there was a lot of things in the paper that looked bad about the schools. We had leaky roofs, and I'm thinking, I live in Sarasota County. It's not like they're poor. Why don't they just fix these things? And nobody was fixing the problems that I thought they should fix. So I did what every woman does. You get your girlfriends and go to the meeting and sit there and wait for something to happen, and nothing happened. And then the other people would say to me, why don't you run for school board? And I said, I don't have a degree in political science. I'd have no business running for school board. And by about my 3rd meeting, I went, I'm overqualified for this job. These people have been sitting there for 20 years. They have no kids in the school. They're clueless. They do their little dog and pony show, and then they all go home. And nobody's fixing the problems I'm mad about. So if you're looking for a career in politics, try to get mad about something and fix it. In fact, that was my theme last year. Whatever you told me, I went, I'll fix that. Because I think that's what a politician's job should be. So I certainly think that passion is important. It's important in politics. If you're not passionate about something, why are you here? Did you just want to be important? Go be important doing something else. Don't take up a chair in politics. You have an important seat at the table. Fix something while you're here. So if you have this passion, and you know, to me, confidence comes from outside, not from inside of me. I'm pushed rather than driven. And starting with Sister Mary Helen Rita, who thought I had leadership skills, apparently so did other people, because they would say, why don't you do this? And I'd go, why don't you do that? No, they'd rather I did it. So I do it. And to have leadership skills and to be a leader, I think you need to be very brave, and you should do what you fear. Whatever scares you the most, go do that. The thing that people fear the most is public speaking. It's number one. Fear of public speaking is number one. Fear of death is 10. So that tells you people would rather die than get up here and be me. So it does take a little bravery. And I do think that you have to have good communication skills. And I think good communication skills come from one thing. My friend Karen, stand up and wave your hand. I'm going to recognize you. My friend Karen is my little mentor. And Karen's simple rule is, first you have to care. And if you don't care, why are you here? So first you have to care, and then you have to care about somebody else's problem, and you have to be able to rally the troops like Julia Ranabar did. Knowing Julia Ranabar is like knowing a hurricane. I don't remember saying I wanted to come here and say, I thought we were playing golf. And it's really sweet of y'all to show up on a Saturday when you could be playing golf too. So somehow, some way, I ended up as a senator in Florida, and I do feel it's a very awesome job to have. I think I have a very important place at the table. I try not to waste the opportunity that you, the voters, gave me to make important changes, and we've been able to do great things. I think sometimes leadership is confused with power. I mean, men will use power words like, well, you got a lot of clout, you got juice, you got pull, you got, power. I don't think women see leadership as power, except to see it as having the power to make the changes that we wanted to see in the first place. So I try to take care of that opportunity. So all I can tell you is, do what you fear the most. Ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could ever happen to you? You won't die. You really don't die from public speaking. And to finish up, somebody told me this great thing, that if you're doing what you fear most, what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is you fall flat on your face. And if I fell flat on my face, I'm 5 feet 7 inches closer to my goal. So that's the worst that could happen. But anyway, I do appreciate the Bradenton Herald on their front page trying to retire me early. I'm not term limited out. I'm not quitting. I'm just not going to have the privilege of serving Manatee County anymore. Due to redistricting, I have all of Sarasota and 13% of Charlotte. And I only come to Manatee because I got to know the women's groups up here, and I really like your energy. I really don't see this energy elsewhere. So I just come to visit and hang out with good people because I really take the title of state senator seriously. I'm not the Sarasota senator. I'm trying to work to build a strong state. So you still count in my book. And the last thing I'll say is your Kiwanis model, leadership through service. I think that's very important too on the path to leadership. I owned a business for 25 years, and I would tell my employees, first you get the client what they want, and then you get paid. So that's the same thing as leadership through service. First you serve someone, you become well known in your community, and then hopefully you're recognized and you move up. So in closing, I'd just like to say to young people, I would hope that you would consider politics as a career. It doesn't make you rich, but at the end of your life, you never regret what you did do. You only regret what you didn't do, and you want to lead a life that mattered. And all I can say is this is a very fulfilling career, and you do feel like you did something that mattered. And so with that, I will conclude, and I want to invite my good friend, Senator Paula Dockery, who drove over here from Lakeland to be with us. And Paula Dockery, Senator Dockery, was the person that was a leader in the House of Representatives when I was elected in 1998. She was already in a leadership position. She's just got I used to call her the cruise director. She's very inclusive, make sure, she's like Julie. Thinks of a fun event when she just really wanted to sucker you into showing up for some meeting that she wanted you to come to. But she did a great job in the House, and she did a great job in the Senate, and she, unfortunately for us, is term limited out, and we will no longer have her service in the Senate. But it was very sweet of her to drive over here to speak to you today, and I hope you'll give a warm welcome to Senator Paula Dockery, and thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, and good afternoon, everyone. It is certainly my pleasure to be with you today, and I just wanted to share a few thoughts on leadership, and particularly on women in leadership, because I think this last legislative session kind of highlighted what women can do when they work together. I like to try and put forth a positive message, but I would be less than honest if I didn't let you know the state of the state in terms of leadership. And I think we have a leadership deficit in the state legislature. And in the past, I was first elected in 1996, served 6 years in the House, and then moved on to the Senate. And when I was first elected, and I love working across the aisle, I think bipartisanship is what we all should be doing to do what's in the best interest of our state and in our country, and that seems to be lacking lately. But when I was first elected in 1996, and I'm a Republican, the Democrats had been in power in the state legislature for 122 years, and the Republicans needed to elect 5 Republican House members to take over the majority, and they did exactly that. I was one of the 5, Johnny Byrd was one of the 5, Lindsey Harrington was one of the 5, Nancy Argenziano, and a little redheaded kid named Adam Putnam. So the 2 of us, Adam and I from Polk County, were 2 of the 5 that gave, and both of us won House seats that had never been held by Republicans. Now you can't find a Democrat elected official in Polk County. But when we were first elected, the majority was Republican in the House, 61-59, and that's the perfect situation to be in, because every member's voice counted, and every member was expected to read the bills, to know what they were voting on. They were expected to know every subject area. We deal with insurance and health care and education and environment and criminal justice, and not any one person can be an expert in all those areas. So you want to reach out and find somebody who you respect that has the knowledge base in those areas that you trust to tell you the right thing. And you want to become one of those subject area experts that people trust and that they come to. And so those were great times in the Florida legislature. The legislation we passed out was good legislation. What happens when your majority gets bigger and bigger is you don't start, it starts not to be a Republican versus Democrat ideological battle. It tends to be an ego-driven, power-hungry, within your own party battle. And what happens is a couple people run each of the chambers, and the other members don't seem to have as strong of a voice. So on any big issue, and education lately has been a very large issue, because we keep passing more mandates down on education when it really should be, in my opinion, up to the locally elected school boards to decide what's best for Manatee County or Sarasota County or Polk County. So as we're dictating more and more, you don't even have a chance to absorb what we did in the last legislative session, and we're changing it again on you. So at some point, to be a good member of the legislature, you're not really asked to be a leader, you're asked to be a follower, and you're supposed to follow what your leadership is doing. Well, I'm a little too independent for that, and it bothered me. I thought, if that's the case, anybody could run and anybody can just watch how leadership votes and votes the same way. I think my constituents want me to actually read the bills, understand the issues, know what's important to them. So I think of leadership more as not being a good follower, but being a good listener. And I can't represent my constituents unless I know what's important to them. And that's what makes people like Nancy Dieter such a great legislator, is she's so in tune with what the people she represents wants, and she goes to Tallahassee and fights for them. And at times that will put you at odds with your what we call the leadership up there, but she's the one truly representing her constituents. So we do have a leadership deficit, and we have a lack of civility in Tallahassee and certainly in Washington. And I think that it's more important that Republicans and Democrats, and if we had independents and NPAs that actually held office, for us to all work together, because we're serving the same people, we should have the same goals, but instead it's almost like bragging rights, and we want to show that we did this and they didn't do this, and there's no good to come out of being so emotionally ego involved in an issue rather than to set a goal and to try and reach that goal. And I thought Nancy's example of not thinking she was qualified on the school board, showing up and saying, I'm overqualified because these people have been here a while and they're not solving any problems. And that's the thing. Run for office for a reason. Run because you're upset with the way things are. Run because you have a vision of the way you want things to be. Run because constituents, people, your neighbors want to see our state go in a certain direction. Don't run because you want a fancy title. That is the wrong reason to be in elected office. The part of being in Tallahassee which has frustrated me the last couple of years is we all know there's money in politics. We all know that a lot of the decisions we made are based on people who contribute a lot of money. And, you know, I'm not going to say that money is bad, but I'm going to say the overemphasis on money is bad. And what's happened, I was a big fan of term limits, but I'm regretting that decision somewhat. Maybe not the concept, but the number of years. It takes a few years to really hit the ground running, to get at full speed. And what we saw is people, especially in the House, because most of the House members run for the Senate, people when they get in the House, they're already running for Speaker of the House before they've filed their first bill, taken their first vote, and it's all about having the title and controlling power. To me, knowledge is power. To me, getting something good accomplished, setting a goal and achieving it is power, not being able to hold things over people's heads. So what's happened now is that the legislative leaders who control all the resources, all the money, all the giving out chairmanships, they kind of control who runs for office. And what's troubling is the communities themselves are not really recruiting the candidates that they like from their community, who understands the community, that has the community's best interest at heart. What they're really doing is saying, well, you know, this person would be good, but they're not going to have the money, because the people in Tallahassee, the legislative leaders, will pick who they want to win that Senate seat or who they want to win that House seat and put hundreds of thousands of dollars behind that candidate. That's the troubling part of politics now. So my message to you is this: if you want to change the course of politics, if you want to be able to call your legislator and say, this is important to us, and not have them say to you, I understand, but I can't go against leadership on this. You have to empower them by having the community behind them. You have to have a bench of candidates that's ready to run. And you have to recruit them from here, not from Tallahassee or Washington. So what makes a good leader? I think a good leader listens. I think a good leader does his or her homework. I think a good leader has passion on an issue, and I think a good leader has a tough skin and has the courage to say, I know this is not in my best political interest in terms of a fancy office or a fancy chairmanship or a big title or whatever, but it's in the best interest of my constituents, and I'm going to stand up even if leadership is fighting me on something, if it's something I truly believe in. And those are the candidates I think that that we ought to be putting in office. And you will see Florida change for the better because the people are indebted to the constituents that send them there rather than the power structure in Tallahassee who holds that power over their heads. So to be a true leader, you don't dictate to other people what you want them to do. You listen to people and you try and achieve for them what you as their representative are expected to do. So with that, thank you so much for letting me be here. I want to leave you with one little anecdote. This last legislative session, and a lot of people think that perhaps I got a little brave since I was term limited and would speak my mind, but in the 16 years I've been in office, I've spoken my mind a lot, and that's why my office was on the second floor with the Democrats, one of the smallest offices there was. I had no chairmanship, but I decided that I was going to spend the last couple years in the Senate working on defeating bad bills. And this year in particular, our caucus didn't meet to say to the members what's important to all of you. It was very top-down driven. So on 3 or 4 issues, a couple of us would say, well, I'm voting no. And then when we realized there were enough no votes, we said, well, let's form this informal coalition and defeat a couple of leadership issues that are just bad issues, one of them being the parent trigger bill, in my opinion. And Nancy Dietert and I teamed up on this. Senator Evelyn Lynn joined us, and the female reporters in the Capitol Press Corps started watching the last week of issue. The biggest, most controversial issues all come up in the last week because they cram them all in and hopefully, try and make them go fast and hold a lot of things over your head. You want this appropriation, you better vote this way. You want this, you better do this. And we decided we feel so strongly about this, and we didn't know if we had the votes because a 20-20 tie vote kills the bill. And we thought we either had 19 or 20 or 21. So it could have gone either way. And we know that the governor was talking to members. We know that leadership was talking to members. And so until that board lit up with our names with a green for a yes or a red for a no, we didn't know what the actual vote was going to be. But the 2 female reporters from the Capitol Press Corps were really interested in watching the women of the Senate because we seemed to be the ones who did our research, who were questioning what we thought were the false claims that the advocates of this bill were doing, and they wanted to talk to us. And they thought the women are showing that even without fancy titles, they have power. They have power because they have knowledge, and they're doing their homework, and they're working harder, and they're willing to stand up and show some courage. And so they wanted to interview us next time we broke in the session. So I said, okay, meet in my office. And they said, well, please bring Senator Dietert. And I said, absolutely. And Senator Rhonda Storms, who's another strong woman. And then we had some Democrat women senators. And it was like, it was like a scene from The View. You had all these women going, blah, 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 yeah, but blah, 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 blah. But these women reporters were so excited because they had this concept that they thought, this is great to see women standing up for what they believe was right. And so that was a really bonding moment for us. And when we went back, I'll tell you, Nancy talks about feed us before we talk. The leadership did something that I thought was hysterical. The night before when the parent trigger bill came up, Thursday, and session was supposed to end on Friday, when they brought the parent trigger bill up, it was something like 8 o'clock at night. We were all really hungry, so they brought in food, and then they brought up the bill, so all the members went back to eat, so our votes that we needed were not on the floor when we were doing all the amendments. And we said, well, that was kind of tricky. So the next day, it was supposed to be the first bill up at like 10 o'clock. They bring it up at noon or 1, and again, they bring food in to get everybody out of their seats. So we're on to their tactics. As it turned out, it failed on a 20-20 vote. The women made sure they were in their seats. Nancy Dietert delivered the best debate on that bill. My job was to run around the room making sure we didn't lose anybody and counting the votes. So we made a good team, but we didn't do it to prove we could. We did it because we thought the policy was fatally flawed, and the only reason that it was passing is because leadership was pushing something through that most of the members didn't like. The vote may have been 20-20, but we had at least 5 5 other members who said, we wish we could have voted no, we thought it was a bad bill, but I've got this bill that I need, or I've got this appropriation that I need, and I can't afford to lose it over one issue. But it takes people saying, I'm willing to put that at risk to do the right thing. So to be a leader, you listen, you do your homework, and you do the right thing no matter what the political price. Thank you all.
Well, we want to thank everybody that attended today, and we especially want to thank Nancy Dieter and Miss Paula for everything that you all have done in the legislature, and we're glad that you support us and support the efforts that we're interested in. We're glad you're a Kiwanian. That's even great. And I think Miss Julie has some presentations. Go ahead.
For Nancy, because I backed out on a golf date, she'll be getting a gift certificate because we use a lot of balls sometimes when we're out there. Thank you very much.
Then we keep some for later.
Oh, you got the basket too.
And then for Paula, we got you a little collection of things for you to enjoy. We found some of your favorite things so that when you're not in Senate,
You're ready for the beach.
you can remember us.
Thanks,
Go ahead.
Julie.
All right. Again, thank everybody for attending. We want to thank our sponsors, Concrete on Call, the Junior League of Manatee County, the Polo Grill, Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance, Lakewood Ranch Medical Center, and WN Distributors. The cups that are in front of you there, everybody's allowed to take one of those and take it home with you and enjoy your favorite beverage in them. And you'll have a great time with that. And outside, the Lakewood Ranch Medical Center has some bags for us. There's some promotional items that are on the tables out there. We encourage you to take them, and we encourage you to go through the items that are out there from some of our sponsors if you're interested in anything that they offer. The Kiwanis Club of Lakewood Ranch meets right here at the Polo Grill every Tuesday at noon. We start on time and we end on time, just like we're doing today. And we do a lot of good community service, and we hope that you'll join us. And we hope that if Lakewood Ranch isn't the Kiwanis Club for you, that you find another club in Manatee County. Again, we appreciate everyone for coming this afternoon, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Let me ring the bell back here.
It's very important because, we as women leaders like to get together. We like to compare to see if we can help one another. Women are very involved in leadership positions all over the country, and this is a way that we can get on and get rejuvenated from strong leaders, get ideas. Women are very much in politics now. They're very much in leadership, very much in corporate America, and this is just another way that we can all get together and exchange ideas and thoughts. Well, it's already a proven fact that women are multitaskers. So women don't get one issue and go with it. They can deal with more than one. And women take the lead on a lot of things that a lot of people would be surprised of. So I encourage all women to get involved, because there's something in everything that you may be interested in and you can help and be involved with.
Well, I believe that women, we run our families. We should be involved in leadership. We should be involved in decisions that are made throughout the county, throughout the state. Our families are affected by it, and basically, if mom's happy, everybody's happy. So we'd like to see that happen. Actually, tragically, my son passed away almost 7 years ago this month, and I saw at that point a devastating epidemic that was taking place in our county, and I just wanted to bring awareness to it. And along the way, along these travels, I've found that You know, we have to go to the leaders of our country, of our state, to make a difference. And that's been my purpose for the last 7 years, and we've made great strides. We've shut down many pill mills. We'd like to see some legislation regarding prescription drugs and specifically the opiates that are the #1 drug prescribed in the United States. Just don't be afraid. You'd be amazed how powerful you are, how anyone in your position, no matter what it is, as a mother, as a teacher, you know, just as a community individual, you can make a difference. You know, women are very powerful, and I don't know that they always realize that.
Well, I think we want to encourage more women who have not been typically represented in leadership positions, either in government, business, or in politics. And we're launching this initiative to encourage particularly younger women who can join us and learn from the mentors like Senator Dieter and Julia Ranabar and others who have worked our way up through the leadership ranks. I would say call us, talk with us, look around and see who's doing interesting things. You know, get involved in your child's school, you know, volunteer at the Humane Society, get involved in your church. Those are all ways to learn leadership.
Well, it's very important. That's why I have my daughter Amari here today, so she can see leaders in the community that are doing things that are benefiting their futures. That's all it's about, is our young people's future. If you know, I'm all about young people's future and their education and them becoming successful. So it's really important for her, for me, for her to see women doing the best that they can and setting examples in our community. Come out, get involved, join clubs in school, anything, any opportunity that comes up, get involved. Maybe you might like it, maybe you might, but you probably will.
Well, I'm just honored to be invited to this event and participate on the host committee to bring together this group of women that are considered leaders in our community. And I think it's important to be here so that we can show that the women in our community can unite to make our community better. And although this room will be packed today, to make the point that there are lots of women and other people in our community that are considered leaders and have something positive to contribute. And we hope that this will motivate them to participate at that level. I would tell someone younger than myself that they have something to offer, and they just need to look around and see where they can contribute and move in that direction.
Well, I think in my case, in my category of politics, we only have 14 to 20% of all elected officials are women nationwide. So it's kind of a category that most women don't think about. So rather than to just, you know, isolate women as a subspecies, all I'm trying to do is get them to notice politics as a career option and to try to explain the path to leadership via politics. So that would be my purpose. Well, I think women are like everybody else. They're waiting to hear some authenticity. And stop looking for the women's vote and try to look for what women are interested in. And what women are interested in is hiring some problem solvers to work on the problems that women care about. Well, I love to talk to young people about politics as a career option, and what I tell them is, I grew up in Chicago, and the last thing I ever thought I'd be is a senator in a state I had never even visited. So don't underestimate yourself and keep all your options open.
It's important, very important, that we have these events so that women, as well as the whole community, will realize that we are not only here, but we're doing our part, more than our part. We have followed the pattern that was set up years ago a servant leader. That's what we are. We lead this community. Every event that you find, every church, every program, you're going to find women there who are, without consideration of themselves, they are actually serving Manatee County. And that's what it's all about. We're working together to make a difference, not only for our generation, but for generations to come. Women work, and they do it quite well. I ask our younger generation to follow the pattern that has been set for them. That pattern says that you put God first, and that's most important, then your family, but then the community. When we can realize that we have to reach out, cross borders, move together to make a difference. One person can make a little bit of difference, but when we join hands together, we can change the world. We are changing Manatee County now. Yes, as I grew up, which was a long time ago, Mary McLeod Bethune came to my school. I saw her, and I saw in her what I wanted to be. As I graduated from Bethune-Cookman College, Martin Luther King actually came to our school, and he spoke at the graduation prior to mine. And when I saw him, and I knew all of the differences that he had made, I knew that I too could make a difference. And that's what I'm trying to do, make a difference so that I can leave a legacy not only of financial kinds of activities, but most of all, a legacy of working together, crossing bridges, and making a difference.
I've been in Kiwanis now for over a decade. I've been an advisor. I've been a volunteer in our schools, and the absolute basic fundamental of Kiwanis is that we change the world one child and one community at a time. I know the power of being a mentor, and someone that mentored me, which was a teacher when I was about 10 years old. So I know that connection, and I know a person that changed my life. Any one of us can think of, whether it was a teacher, a boss, someone, and it's usually someone outside of your family that sees something in you and brings out the best in you. One of the things that women need to do to be successful in leadership is not tell other people what to do, but to learn through service. And through service to your community, you find out the needs of your community. And once you understand that, it is a very powerful thing. And it's not a type of power that you hold on to. It's a type of power that flows through you. And that's sort of where I am now, serving on the school board. And what I see is a great need in our schools. And in order to get that need, I have to go find that one mentor for that one child. That's how basic this is, and that's what this message is today. How do we change our community? One child, one community at a time. The women that are here today have learned something that not all of us have learned, but they learned that real leadership is the giving up of yourself and doing for others. That's the common thread that you see in this room. We sent out one email and we had 100 RSVPs the next day. Within 3 days, we were reaching the 200 mark. Within 4 days, we had to add extra tables to this room. So what we have learned through this experience is that there is a hunger and there is a need in our community, but it's a human need, and that need is to be treated with respect. That every one of us wants to be accepted, to be loved. It's the root of our bullying. It's the root of where a lot of our differences come from. And today the message is about all of the different pathways to leadership. We have people representing Mary Ruiz from healthcare all the way through our government, through business, and also through really powerful senators who make policy decisions. Those are the laws that govern us. So we have a chance today to listen, take something away, and that thing that we hope we take away today is there are a lot of women here that may not be in Kiwanis or some other service organization. You have to find where it is that you can give back, and that's how we make a difference in Manatee County. This is the greatest place I've ever lived. My children are about to graduate, and they have been the recipients of all of the goodwill. It's my turn to start doing this, to give back to the little ones that I see every single day in our community.
Okay, I am so honored and pleased to present my good friend Senator Paula Dockery from Lakeland, one of the few women in the Senate. When I arrived 4 years ago to the Senate, I said, let's have all the Republican women senators go to dinner, and we made up one table at a local restaurant, a table for 4, and we said our Democratic friends could probably have the other table of 4. But Paula was a leader in the House when I arrived there, a leader in the Senate. I'm going to miss her as a personal friend, and I'd like to ask her, what are you going to miss the most about leaving the Florida Senate?
Well, it's been a great ride in the legislature. I served 6 years in the Florida House and then 10 years in the Senate, and a lot has changed during those 16 years. And it has never been, the atmosphere has never been like it is lately. And it was wonderful this last 2 years to see women in the Senate bond together on issues that meant a lot to them. And they weren't the traditional women's issues, but just issues that kind of defied common sense. And you don't take on leadership very often because your chances of success are pretty slim to none, but we did take on a couple big issues this year, and when the women put their minds to it, we were able to do what we thought and which we are pretty sure our constituents wanted to be done. So it was wonderful to see women really rise to the level of really standing up for the democratic process and defending what was best for our communities.
One of the things I'd like to ask Senator Dockery, because of her long period in the Florida legislature, and today's theme is about leadership. Do you think women in leadership has improved or deteriorated in the years that you were in politics?
I think out of necessity, the last couple years, women have been tested in terms of their leadership abilities. So I'd like to think and hope that even without me being there next year, that the women will stick together when it comes to doing things that that help our state. And I think that we showed that with some determination, we can get things done. It was interesting, the last day of session, 2 female reporters in the Capitol Press Corps approached me and said, we'd like to get together with some women because we've been really impressed at how you all have stepped up to leadership roles this year, even without maybe the fancy title. And on the last day of session, it's kind of tough to get to any of us, but I said, next time we take a break, meet in my office, I'll grab some of the women. And they said, well, make sure you grab Senator Dietert, and I wanted to grab Senator Storms because she's another real powerhouse, I think. And so it turned out we had about 8 lady legislators in my little office talking to these 2 female reporters, and the question, bipartisan, and the question that they asked, which was really interesting, is what sets apart the female legislators from the male legislators? And we all kind of looked at each other and we said, I guess it's our spirit of independence. We do our homework, we do the research, we try and base things on fact, which is interesting because most of the time people think women are the emotional ones and the men are the ones that base it on fact, but the way it really turns out is the women legislators read the bills, talk to their constituents, do some research, and we were trying to do what common sense would dictate. So it is interesting, the more you think about it, what really does set us apart, I think you can come up with different answers, but at the core of it is that women were willing to be more independent and vote their conscience.
And so today we're going to kind of encourage young women to take a look at politics as a career move and try to replace some of the great people we're losing, like Senator Dockery.
You know, it is so important because women have been leaders throughout our history in our country and in this county in particular with people like Pat Glass. The recognition and the need to have more women involved in our government, in leadership, in businesses. They're already everywhere, which is great, and that's what's part of what makes our country so great and our community so great. You know, grab a hold of those opportunities when they come around, because you can do it. Somebody gets in your face, you get right back in their face. You know, don't let anybody push you around. Too many people let that happen. So, you know, just get out there and learn how things are done and educate yourself and get involved, because you guys are already the leaders of our community, and we need to continue that.
Well, it's wonderful to see the women of our community get together and be role models for the entire community. It's important for women to show their leadership skills and to bring our young women into the community and show them who the role models are and what they can do if they work hard. Well, you know, our future is our youth, and we need to get them involved early. I think the Kiwanis Club has done a great job with things like Key Club, bringing young women in. Future Farmers of America is another group that I got to work with recently and see the young women that are stepping up into leadership roles. So it's very important that we, as the older women, if you will, bring the younger women into the community, into leadership roles. Well, I think it's great. It shows that there's really a demand for leadership opportunities. It shows that people want to be involved, young women want to be involved, they want to be able to learn from the women leaders that exist, great leaders like Nancy Dietert, Julia Ranabar, who's set this up. I think it's wonderful that we have women stepping up and showing the way for the future leaders.
Oh, you know what, that is so important, because in today's world, we need women to come out and speak up and take in these big roles that are out there so that we can have a say what's going on in not only the local area, but national as well. Women are very smart, we've come a long way, and we need to push it even further today. So I am just so happy to see the women that we have here. We've got a lot of wonderful elected officials here that are women, and they need to be honored. So I think it's wonderful. I have a daughter, I have 4 children, and I think that it's very important that the young women of today that are growing up, they realize what's out there in this world, and they want to become a part, and they learn early what it means, and they need to do community service. So it's wonderful. We have a lot of young women here today, a lot of young men. So it's wonderful. We need to start early with our youth.